we've got to get proactively involved in Trooper Academies. So, Caden, I'm going to say this year we funded this, and I'm anticipating another $4 million next year.
Okay.
As far as the state is concerned, to fund another academy.
Gotcha.
And we probably need to do that the next 2 or 3 years in a row, get our trooper levels back up.
All right, hey guys, what's going on? Caden Cleveland back here again with the Oklahoma Senate, and you're joining us for another episode of Budget Breakdown, of course, in the wonderful office of the Appropriations Chair, Senator Roger Thompson. Senator, thanks for having us up again.
Hey, it's great to be back again.
That's right.
A lot of things have been happening in the interim, whether we're meeting with the Federal Reserve or Moody's Analytics, trying to decide what the budget's going to be. We're always talking numbers. So it's good to be back in this office and talking to you.
Absolutely. So we're going to talk more about numbers today, obviously.
Very good.
The last few weeks we've been breaking down some of the agencies, some of the new investments that the legislature has made into a few of the different agencies. Right. This week we're going to be talking about a very important agency, the Department of Public Safety. So I'll kind of turn it over to you and let you tell us about some of the new investments that's gone into DPS.
Sounds great. You know, as we talk about the Department of Public Safety, especially in light of what happened in Philadelphia last night with the officers in the standoff, public safety is our #1 priority as a state. So we want to make sure that we're taking care of the public and that we are keeping them safe, and so therefore we have a Department of Public Safety, or DPS.
Right.
I'll go over some numbers just right quick. In FY19, we appropriated $97 million to them. You can see 97.6. In FY20, 104.3. And just for those who are astute and watching, and I know they're there, if I add up all my numbers, they're going to come up a little bit short of the difference. And the difference is the employee pay raise.
Okay.
And so that's going to be the difference in my numbers whenever we get there.
Gotcha.
So let's talk about some of the new investments that we're going to be doing this next year. The Trooper Academy, and we've not had one in several years. And when we talk about a new Oklahoma Highway Patrol, we're talking about $150,000 by the time that they're trained.
Right.
They have their car, they have everything they need to be. So it's about $150 a piece to get involved in it. And so we are having a Trooper Academy that's going to start in February of 2020. They last about 20 weeks.
Okay.
And it's going to be for 80 people. And so again, if you take the 40 or the $4 million and divide by 80, you can see this is not enough money.
Right.
And so what we're able to do, and thanks to Tim Gatz, is that we partner with the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority.
Okay.
And so the Turnpike Authority, if you drive up down the turnpikes, the Department of Public Safety, the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, has exclusive jurisdiction on all of the turnpikes.
Okay.
And so you probably noticed you'll never see a county sheriff out. You won't see a city policeman out on turnpikes. That's underneath the jurisdiction of the troopers.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so we're partnering then through DPS and OTA to have an academy that will begin in February 2020, and it will run probably double this figure by the time that we're finished.
But that's okay because the OTA is helping out on that price tag. Is that correct?
That's exactly right.
Gotcha.
And these troopers still work underneath Commissioner Rhodes.
Right.
They're troopers, but they are assigned to turnpike duty.
Gotcha.
So you'll have the same ones out there all the time. And so the turnpike wants to make sure that they're safe.
Gotcha.
So they need trained troopers as well. And today, just by way of information, we're somewhere around 700 troopers. We need to be around 1,000. And so as we begin to look at the attrition rate, people retiring, leaving the force, we've got to get proactively involved in Trooper Academies. So, Caden, I'm going to say this year we funded this, and I'm anticipating another $4 million next year.
Okay.
As far as the state is concerned, to fund another academy.
Gotcha.
And we probably need to do that the next 2 or 3 years in a row, get our trooper levels back up.
So, and is the reason that they're down because we haven't had academy the last few years, or what's the reason for that?
No academy in the training. We've not had the money to put into academies. And then, of course, the troopers who've been there for a long time are retiring.
Gotcha, okay.
And so the numbers are kind of coming down. That's right.
Okay.
But to become a trooper is not easy. And so they're going to enroll 80. And so we look at the national rates, we look at the Oklahoma rates.
Right.
We're going to anticipate in graduation 62 to 65 who will graduate.
Gotcha.
And then they'll go out in the field and they'll work with seasoned troopers.
Right.
Most of them will make it at that particular point, but a few may drop out at that point. And so we are anticipating, hopefully, as many as 65 new troopers will be coming out of the academy next February.
That's great. And you even predict possibly that happening in the next few years. Is that right?
My opinion, it needs to.
Gotcha, okay.
And we need to be pushing that.
Love it.
And so as I begin to look at the budget for next year, this will be a reoccurring expense that I will have in the Senate's budget next year. Of course, it has to be approved by the Senate, moved through the House, and the governor sign it. but nevertheless, I think we need to be there.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so the second thing that we invested is a communication system, and we invested another $1 million into it. And we have a number of communication systems across the state. What we want to do is start talking to one another.
Great.
And so if the Edmond Police needs to talk to the Highway Patrol, whatever's going to be out there, we want to make sure they have everything in place.
Gotcha. Okay.
And on the bottom two items, I met with Secretary Keating of Public Safety and with Secretary Ostro, and we're talking about statewide, making sure we can talk to each other.
Gotcha.
We've got, and that's public safety.
Absolutely.
To make sure we can do that.
So this $1 million investment here will ensure that just increasing those communications that officers are able to communicate with each other. Like you said, if Norm needs to talk to Edmund PD or something like that all can happen. Is that right?
That's exactly right. But we also want to interface that. And this is a conversation I've had for several years, even with the Department of Transportation.
Right.
So in the wintertime, if we're way out in western Oklahoma somewhere, we have snow, we have whatever we have out that way, the troopers will also be involved in that.
Okay.
And rescue people is going to be involved in that. So we want a great deal of communication. So we need to make sure that DPS's communication system is brought up to date.
Love it.
And so we put $1 million into that.
And like you said, that's just part of the public safety aspect. That's increasing the public safety. There's definitely a worthwhile investment there. I'm interested in what you have to say on this next topic, the real ID, because this has been something that's been widely discussed in the last few years. Right. Bring us up to date on what the latest progress is there and what is moving forward.
Oh, I'd love to. You know, when we begin to talk about real ID, it's been a subject of anticipation in the state of Oklahoma. It was passed in 2005 on the federal level by the Real ID Act.
Okay.
At that particular time, the Oklahoma legislature looked at it and says, we really don't want to give our information up to the feds. We don't want it out there. We don't know what the security is. And so it wasn't until 2017 that Oklahoma actually approved compliance with Real ID. So we got 12 years in here that we really didn't begin compliance. And even during my time in the legislature, we've been talking about it. I've always been for it. I think we need to do it. We have, in our statutes, carved out a license for people that may not travel, that may not be going into federal buildings, that may not be going on like Tinker Air Force Base. Right. And kind of like my mother, she's in her early 80s, she drives to church, drives to the doctor, to the grocery store, and drives home. Mm-hmm. And so they'll have an opportunity in Oklahoma to have just a regular driver's license.
Great.
Okay. Let's talk about Real ID. And so we're looking at an implementation cost of in excess of $15 million to do that. We've appropriated some money. If you remember a couple of years ago, whenever we changed our license plates and the look of our license plates, and then we added a fee to that. Right. Part of that was a Real ID fee. Oh, okay. And so it's been going into that fund, trying to build up that $15 million that we're able to go forward.
So this is the grand total expected amount, is that correct?
It was.
Okay.
Now, you know, because of the fact that we're slow in implementation, I expect that number to climb just a little bit before we're there. Okay. We added $600,000 to it. Now, the final extension has been approved by the federal government for the spring of 2020. Okay. And we've had extensions, and so whenever I fly on the plane, my Oklahoma driver's license still works. I go in a federal building, still works. In the spring of 2020, that comes to an end. The federal government says you will be ready by that time. So, really? Again, in meeting with Secretary Keating and Secretary Ostro, they assure me we will be in compliance by 2020, but they also assure me that we're going to be customer friendly. Okay. Now,
that's very important, and not something you see a lot of times from government service. So that's very important to me.
Even if you go get your driver's license now, and you're standing in line sometimes, especially in Oklahoma City or Tulsa, 45 minutes plus. Yeah. I didn't talk to them. I've heard stories of being in that line 2 and 3 hours. Wow. That's unacceptable. Yeah. And so we want to make sure we fund this in such a way, but we also want to make sure the technology is here. And Katie, as you know, I'm a rural legislator. And I really don't want my constituents from rural Oklahoma having to drive to Oklahoma City to get their driver's license. Right. We need to make sure we're working through local tag agents or whoever we need to work with throughout the state that they can walk in and get their Real ID driver's license. Now, the problem with that is these are all secure information. So we're talking about birth certificates. We're talking about a total I. We're talking about everything about you that the federal government can identify. This is Katie. Right. That's going to be on a barcode on the back of your license. Okay. So it's going to be a great thing for Real ID. It's going to help us. I'm all for the deal. But yet, while it's going to be expensive, it must be customer friendly. Okay. Gotcha. You need to be able to walk in and get that license and walk out.
Gotcha. So quick recap real quick. Just over the past few years, this word is popping out to me, final extension. Yes. So this is the final extension that the federal government has granted Oklahoma. Is that correct? For us to move forward.
Exactly.
Gotcha. So we are moving into those final stages of actually being completely Real ID compliant. Is that right? Right. Love it. But must be customer friendly.
That's exactly right.
Gotcha.
That's what we want to be. So, Commissioner Rose just texted me, and right now we have 767 troopers. And what we're looking for is to keep the public safe as 1,042.
So jumping back up to
Yes.
Trooper Academies,
Yes.
real quick. You're getting a lot, guys. Just got a text message and
Oh,
update
exactly.
on our video.
That's
Perfect.
exactly. So this is our goals.
Gotcha. So we're currently at 767 troopers, and we're hoping to get to over 1,000.
That's right. And that's where we must be to keep the public safe.
Love it. Well, overall, it looks like, again, public safety, something that everybody can value and get behind.
Right.
I believe, and it's looking like the legislature just has been making strides and further investing for these programs to continue for the safety of Oklahomans.
I tell you what, we live in a different world than what I grew up in.
Right.
I grew up a lot longer before you did that. When I graduated high school in 1975 and in school, we drove pickup trucks. We had rifles in the back of our windows every day. We might go hunting after school. Those days are long gone.
Wow.
And what's happened in El Paso, what's happened in Dayton, what happened in California 2 days ago, what happened in Philadelphia just last night, we've got to be prepared.
Wow.
We are depending on these people to be prepared. And to do that, as a state legislature, we need to make sure that they're funded.
Love it.
And Trooper ID, we need to make sure our people are safe when they travel.
Yeah.
We must fund Real ID.
Okay.
And so all of this is about public safety.
Love it.
And that's our number one priority.
Sir, thank you
Thank
very
you very
much
much.
for walking
Appreciate
through
it.
that. Huge deal. Love it. Guys, if you do have any questions on any of these new investments that Senator Thompson has listed out for us today, feel free to comment down below this video. Ask us anytime. We'll get back to you with more information on it. But in the meantime, Senator, thank you again for walking us through this and keeping us updated on what's going on with our state budget.
Absolutely. Thanks for dropping by. And I want to thank the men and women who serve as troopers.
Yes, 100%.
Every day, they put their
100%.
lives on the line for us, and we owe them a debt of gratitude.
100%. I'm so glad you said
All
that.
right. Thank you.
Well, hey guys, thank you for joining us again for another episode of Budget Breakdown. Again, I think next week we're going to continue on with another topic. I'm not sure which agency we're going to be doing next, but we're going to break apart some of the new investments the legislature's made. So again, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to us. And until then, I guess we'll see you next week on the next Budget Breakdown. Bye, guys.